In this episode of the English Right Now podcast, we're explaining the British education system in a simple, clear way from primary school to secondary school, exams, school culture, and what it's really like to grow up in the UK. This is an English learning podcast. My name is British English teacher Roy, and joining me is my dear friend Rob. Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Woodhouse.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Carter. Good afternoon. Oh, that's the first thing we should say. How are you today, first of all?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Roy. I hope you're good as well.
Feeling wonderful.
Good.
Fighting fit.
Good.
I don't know who Fit is, but I'm fighting him. So, education system. So we started off there. That's a very, that's got a common way in schools that they do it. Good morning, everybody. And then the students, especially if they're in assembly, which is that kind of meeting where all the school get together, usually in the school hall, and they'll reply, "Good morning, Mr. Carter," or "Good morning, everyone." These kind of things. They'll sort of reply. We don't often say "sir" or "ma'am," do we, to teachers?
Not anymore. No, it tends to be Mr. or Mrs. or Miss or something like that.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But
with their surname as well. But
yeah, their surname. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I've got first-hand experience of this, partly because I went to school,
yes,
like you did.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I might have been dragged up, but go on.
And I worked as a primary school teacher, so I've got some recent experience of primary school, certainly, not secondary school. Secondary school's too big and scary, I think. But yeah. But of course, as I say, before the kids come to primary school, either they may have just been at home for 5 years, but most children these days, they go to nursery, don't they? And then or preschool as well. The year before they start primary school, they've got preschool as well. So they've been in a sort of classroom environment for a few years, haven't they?
Yeah, so they start like is it like 2, 3 when they start, usually they can go to nursery pretty young on, pretty young. And it's educational based games for a lot of it, but they're mainly just kind of keeping them happy, keeping them entertained, keeping them clean, trying anyway. And then you start, so nursery is usually paid, isn't it? Although we do get some government funding for certain hours.
Yeah, the nurseries are run privately, but you get some government funding to help. I don't know, it's gone up over the years, isn't it?
15 hours is for most people, and then you get more if you are, depending on your circumstances.
So my kids started nursery when they were 1 because we were both working. So they started very young indeed. But we had to pay for some of that. Plus we've got some government funding, as you say. Yeah.
And then once they've done with the nursery thing, they move into preschool, which is sometimes known as reception. And that's the first, it's not year 1 of school. And technically, they're in there, usually in there normally. And they're playing maybe education-based games, kind of learning through. There's a lot more to it. It's like the fundamentals, the alphabet, the numbers, the colors, and things like this. But there's a lot of kind of learn with play. And that sounds really dismissive, but it's this idea that we can make education fun. It's not like proper based sit down at the desk and write. No. Because try teaching a 4 or 5 year old in a kind of like formal lesson environment. Oof.
But it's about interaction, social interaction, isn't it? And working together, and also loosely following a timetable rather than just being random. There's a structure to the day, isn't there? That sort of thing. Learning manners and learning how to go to the toilet and all those sort of things. Your basics.
It's changed. Yeah. And they're expected to be. They're hopefully like toilet trained by the time they go into reception, but some of them aren't. And all children have their own kind of delay, not delays, but their own kind of their own speed. So we have reception, and then we have the first few years of what we call primary school. Now, when I was a kid, back in the Victorian age, when I was a kid on the Isle of Wight, we didn't have primary and secondary. We had primary, middle, and high.
Yes.
But they've got rid of that system to bring it more in line with the rest of the UK. So now we have primary and secondary. So you go to primary until year
6. Yeah. So it goes
So
from year 1
sort
up
of
to
age,
year 6. Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
What
And
sort of age are they?
you start year 1 when you're roughly 5 years old, don't you?
Yeah.
And then year 6, by the time you leave primary school, you're 11, ready to go on to
11,
the next
12-ish, aren't
stage.
they?
Yeah. But primary school is also sort of broken into two halves in a way, isn't it? There's 2 key stages, they call them now. You've got your infant part, and then you become juniors, don't you?
Yeah.
Or key stage 2.
Yeah. So yeah, they've basically tested all the way through. The major exams are not till later on, but they are tested. So my son is currently in primary school, and he's going through all that kind of, he's now learning all these kind of wonderful things. And I'll be honest, some of the stuff you teach in primary school, I'm like, oh my god, did I learn that? I can't remember learning that. They were learning about the wonderful teacher. He's got a wonderful teacher. They were learning about the Ring of Fire, not the Johnny Cash song. They were learning about the volcano, rings of volcanoes, and I was like, I don't know if I learned that. Can't remember it.
I find that primary school now, they teach a lot more higher level stuff than when I was at school. For me, it was just times tables, always learning my times tables, 2 + 2 is 4, all that kind of stuff. And some basic grammar, but not all this, stuff, which is great, isn't it?
And I mean, they teach reading based early on with phonics, which I've got my own kind of gripes with, if I'm totally honest. I'm not a big fan, because it's hard. It's like a halfway house between what we had to do, which was when we were kids, we did rote learning, which is where you just read and somebody goes, no, that's how you say that. Over time, you memorize it, which is because English is not a phonetic language. In English, there are 44 sounds, but phonics is kind of a halfway house. It kind of goes, oh, these letters are quite often this sound, but it's not a kind of, it's a tricky one, because, like, for example, my son, he read the word park and he went park. So when he read it, he pronounced the R, but when he says it, he doesn't say the R. So it's kind of a, there's a lot of what they call tricky words. So that's that. And then eventually, in around year 3, they kind of start to get rid of phonics.
Yeah,
I think it's to make. Yeah. I mean, this idea of phonics, it works better with foreign languages, other languages, Spanish, and the idea that if you see this letter, it's going to be this sound, so on. Yeah,
but I'm sure there's some reason behind it, or thinking behind it. I don't know, but they do get tested on these things. You have, as you mentioned, testing. They call it SATs, don't they? Which is standard assessment tests. They have at the end of the sort of key stage 1, and then later on at the end of key stage 2. So they are tested to make sure they know this stuff, don't they?
So yeah, and then after that, when it gets to year 6, we're talking very much about state school at the moment. By the way, we need to start talking about the other types of schools. But state school, at the end of year 6, they then go off to secondary school, or some people call it high school still, or they go into a college. Some people call these places colleges. And I think it's quite a big jump, isn't it? Because you've gone from being the oldest kid at the age of 11 to the youngest kid, and suddenly you're 11 and you're seeing kids that are 16 and 17, and it's quite a jump.
Yeah, and the difference as well, because primary school, you have one teacher all year doing all the subjects, don't you? You have your class teacher, and he or she will teach you your science and your geography and your maths and your English. When you go to secondary school, suddenly you start specializing in subjects, and you'll go to an English class and have an English teacher, and then you'll go to your maths class and have a maths teacher. So you're moving around the school. So you have a lot of different teachers to meet. And as I say, the secondary school as well is a bigger school. All the local primary schools feed into the bigger school. So you're suddenly surrounded by 2,000 children. Yeah. And big kids, So it is a big step, which isn't great for everybody, is it?
I mean, on the Isle of Wight, there's not that many. The population is not that big. So they are actually closing some schools, some primary schools, because there's not enough kids to go into it. Which is, it's quite sad, actually, if suddenly your child has got local school here, but they have to go to a school further away.
That's the same here. I think the birth rate's going down, isn't it? We've got an aging population, and there are actually more old people than young people. So,
well, look at us.
Yeah, look at us.
We are the aging population.
But it's a big, my kids have been through this. They've already gone to secondary school, and in certain parts of the UK, like here in Kent, we have another test called the 11
Yes.
plus. You're familiar with that? Yeah, the 11 plus,
Yes.
which you do at the end of primary school. And if you get past your 11 plus, then you have a choice of going to a grammar school as opposed to how else do you describe it? A comprehensive school, sort of regular secondary school, or a grammar school. But that's not throughout the UK, which it is a bit.
No, we don't have them here. We don't have grammar schools on the Isle of Wight, as far as I know.
It's quite an old-fashioned system, but yeah.
But some people choose not to go for state school, which is the government-funded school. They go to public school, which is a bit confusing.
Yeah.
So public school is similar to private school in the UK. So public school is kind of an elite private school usually, but it's something about the board as well, depending on whether it's privately owned or it's board owned, these sort of things. But we have some elite private schools, public schools. Eton comes to mind. So a lot of politicians, a lot of prime ministers, they go to Eton.
Yeah, that's right. The School of Hard Knocks, is it?
What a mess.
Yes.
Eton mess is a dessert. Terrible.
But yes, exactly. Very good. I like your pun there. We should do a podcast about puns. The public school or private school is what they are basically. Yeah, the elite ones, obviously very expensive fees to go there. You supposedly have a really good education, but rules are quite strict, aren't they? And
I think in state schools rules are quite strict as well to avoid truancy and things like this. So I mean, I think they can be quite strict. I would say that probably private school. Oh, obviously you pay for private school. It's got trickier of late because they've added quite heavy. The fees have had to go up because of VAT changes, governmental rules. But I would say probably that private schools instill a sense of confidence in the child, like a sense of anything is achievable.
Yeah,
that would be my. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you could argue that, but also I think it's sort of I think there's a lot of benefits to both. Yeah. So yeah, we've got.
I've never been to one. Have you been to one, Roy?
Yeah.
You were quite privately educated. Okay.
Yeah. So no, I was towards the end. So I've had a taste of both. I started off in state. Sounded like I started off in prison. I started off in state until the age of around 13, I guess. So I had a 12, 13 when they would go to a secondary school. Now I moved to a private school for the last 4 years before GCSE. And then I left at GCSE. We can talk about that in a moment. And I would say the education, in terms of education, I think it's, a teacher is a teacher. And you can have good teachers, you can have bad teachers. Ones that take, I think if they've not got the drive and the passion and the joy for it, they're probably not going to pass that on. I had some really kind of amazing teachers in state school that really inspired me. So one of the best teachers I ever had was my French teacher. And he was brilliant. He made me learn French. He made me excited about the language. That was in state school. But I think so in terms of the education, I think you're splitting hairs if you want to say, it's based on who the teacher is. Possibly a private school would be because they're independently hiring, and they sometimes, I believe they pay more.
I think, maybe. I mean, the teachers themselves have been through the same training, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, another advantage maybe of private school, we can have a whole debate about this, couldn't we? But is they have smaller classes. So you get more individual attention, don't you? So typically a state school class would have 30 pupils.
Yeah,
but pretty fewer than that in a
in my class it was about 20, 15 to 20. And I think but what I mean is I think they give you this feeling that they really push this idea of you're part of something because you're there for a long time as well. Some of these kids are there from start to end. They're there from 4 till 18 in the same private school. And it gives you this kind of feeling that anything is possible. I think that's the key difference. I felt because of the smaller classes, I felt more like I was learning, more engaged and everything like that. And I felt like I had more attention. Whereas in state school, I felt more like one of a number, I think.
Anyway, maybe that's why you're so much more successful than me, Roy, because of your private education.
Okay, so you just absolutely ripped apart my argument. Well done.
Well, I went to good old-fashioned what we call comprehensive school, which is obviously girls and boys mixed, all different abilities and different. Or you do all the different subjects, don't you? But you do get put into different, like for maths and English, put into different sets. We call them sets, different groups based on your ability. So if you're really good at maths, you'll be in the top set. And if you're struggling, you'll probably be in the bottom set. So you get more specialist attention. Yeah.
Yes. And this is the thing as well. And I think like this is, your ability set, your group. So we did have that for like in most schools I've been at, where you have a set A and set B. I think those terms can be really detrimental to a child's confidence, actually. Because if they think they're set B, then not as good. And they kind of maybe look down a bit. So that's another thing as well. I think most, well, and I think that's more.
Again, that goes for things like special needs. Whereas I think in my day, anyone with a special need would go to a special class, and we'd all know that was the special needs class. Whereas now the idea is to integrate special, everyone's in together.
Special educational needs can be everything from, complex learning needs to, I think it's changed a lot. I think these days you're right. They try and get people more integrated, more sort of, you're right. But yeah, so in terms of that, we've got primary, secondary, and then we've got sixth form. Sixth form is your 17 and 18, which usually prepares you. Now, you finish what we call compulsory school at 16, which is with the big exams, your GCSEs.
Yeah. We used to call them O-levels in my day, but yes, GCSEs are the big exams at the end. My son's just about to do them right now, in fact. He's been revising hard, day and night.
How's he feeling?
He's quite calm, I'm glad to say, at the moment, but he hasn't actually sort of done them yet. Maybe he might go into a state of panic when they actually start. But at the moment, he feels he's doing enough revision. You just don't know, do you?
There's a lot of pressure, I find, on those exams, because they're basically like, this is the beginning of the rest of your life. That's the kind of way they make it. And it's like, if you mess them up, they make it sound like your life is over. And it's not. People fail, they come back, and it's I'm not gonna encourage your son to fail at all, but I think there's so much pressure. But at 16, you can leave school, but you have to do something. So there are choices, aren't there? You have to do one of three things, which is at 16, you either stay in full-time education, for example, at a school or college. You can start an apprenticeship, or you can spend 20 hours or more a week working or volunteering while also in part-time educational training. So you've got options. It opens up. If you stay in full-time education, you're probably likely to do your A-levels, which are another exam. So your GCSEs, you usually take around 9 or 10, I think. 9. And they're the core ones like maths, English, and then you've got some options. Sciences, biology. What was your strong suit at school? Did you have one?
I've always liked geography, actually.
Have you?
Geography I've always particularly enjoyed. Wasn't very.
And how did that shape your career?
I've done a lot of traveling. I've been on a lot of holidays.
You should write a book. You could be the new Bill Bryson.
Yeah, right. Okay. I couldn't write though. That's the problem. Yeah.
Do you know the difference between a spit and a head? I don't know.
Yes, you got a spit, peninsula.
Joe's good at this.
We could talk about plate tectonics if you want.
Ooh. So when I'm there gibbering away about rings of fire, you're like, "Oh, my speciality."
Yeah, exactly. And you're exactly what you meant. We'll do a podcast about geography if you like sometime. I'd be happy to.
I'll be really quiet. I'll be really quiet during that one.
Do capital cities. I love capital cities. Anyway,
capital cities I'm good on.
Okay.
Capital cities, yep, I'm good at capital cities. My wife hates it.
Fine.
What's the capital of Malta, Luciana? She's quiet. We could do a whole quiz.
Yes.
See if you can know the titles.
But yeah, you're right. So yeah, geography. I mean, I did a GCSE O level at the time, geography, and then I moved on and did an A level geography, and then when I went after that university, half my degree was geography. Not
what was the other half?
The other half was radio and television.
Oh, so at least you followed half of your path. You could have been
yes.
a weatherman. You could have
Oh,
been one of
that'd
those
been perfect,
guys.
wouldn't it? That would
Oh,
have
it
been
would have been.
perfect combination. Yeah.
You could have been one of those people popping up on the TV documentaries going, well, actually, the capital of Nigeria is no longer Lagos or Lagos, isn't it? It is Abuja. You know, you could have been all there. You could have been there. The capital of Brazil is Brasilia. Brazil was named after the. You could have done the whole.
Yeah.
You could have been like the David Attenborough of geography.
Oh well, I'll stick to these podcasts, Roy. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Well, effectively, you are the David Attenborough of this podcast. So.
Yeah, well, I am the elder. The elder. So anyway,
well,
back to school.
Yes,
back to school.
So yeah, so you do your 16s, your GCSEs, and they are usually 6 core subjects: the sciences, the English, maths, and then you have some. I think French is French. Anyway, the 6 core, and then there are 3 elective ones. So you could choose things like Spanish and drama and things like this. So you do 6 that you have to do, and 3 that you can do. And then when you go to your A levels, they are all your own choice. So you can continue doing English, like I did. I did English, literature, media studies, and acting. I think drama and creative. I did drama and acting. I don't know. Drama and theatre studies. I think. Explains a lot, doesn't it?
Perfect. But yeah, and you can do 3 or 4 A levels. Where my son hopes to go at 6th form, he's got to do 4 A levels. Quite tough, actually. But see what happens. Yeah.
I did 4. I did history as well.
All right. Wow.
I did history. Yeah. There's no future in it.
Come on,
back to the pun podcast. Back to the pun podcast.
Yes.
But yeah, so but you don't have to do that. You could do an apprenticeship, which is where you basically learn on the job and you work. So you could do an apprenticeship in engineering, an apprenticeship in whatever. Lots of different things like that. So there are options, but it's still that angle of education.
Yeah.
Still got, until you're 18, and after 18, you're free to go into the wild.
Yeah.
So a couple of things to mention. Term time. We have 3 terms a year.
With a break in the middle.
Called. What's the break in the middle called?
Half
term, which always takes you by surprise.
Half-term holiday,
As a parent, it seems to come around bloody quick. It comes around bloody quickly. Every time I'm like, oh, there you go, back to school. Have a nice time. Oh, is that half term next week? Oh, God, I didn't know. And then
you get a nice,
half term is usually a week.
Yeah, but that's at the end of the academic year, which is in July, isn't it? Then you get that nice, well, it's good for the kids, not for the parents.
Yeah.
You get that nice long 6-week summer holiday. Yeah.
Yeah. Although my private school, we had 6 weeks at state school, and private school was about 8.5, 9.
Wow.
What were your parents meant to do with you then? And only when you become a parent do you suddenly realize, oh my gosh, they're now back. What do I do with them?
Yeah.
Because you've got to keep them entertained, but you've got to work at the same time. So it's tricky, but
yeah, childcare, that's another issue. We can talk about that another time as well. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I think a couple of things that really took my wife by surprise was the times of school. So my son starts at 8:30 and he finishes at 3:10. So it's quite a long day compared to what she's used to. And also they quite often have after school clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Extracurricular activities.
Yeah, like dancing and Mardi Gras and
The other thing that's kind of changed over the years as well is now there's more kind of wraparound care. So they might have a breakfast club at your school, so you can drop the kids off early. They basically eat breakfast, play some games before the actual school day starts. And again, there might be an after-school club where the kids go from school to this kind of club where they're looked after for another hour or so, until you get home from work. So that's quite useful, isn't it?
Also, The Breakfast Club is a name of an amazing film with Emilio Estevez in it, I think it is.
There's no connection.
Film. No connection at all. But yeah, so school, we start in nursery, we go to primary, secondary, and we can leave at 16 later on. But there's a lot of things we can talk about. We didn't talk about the uniforms that they have to wear, the clothes they have to wear. We didn't talk about punishment, which is going to be the next one, because nobody likes a detention. Did you get detentions Do you give detentions in primary school?
Yes, we had detention. Oh, at primary school, not so much. You more had to stay in during lunchtime if you were in trouble. But at secondary school, it was more, you had to stay after school.
It's like
Extra
an
time.
hour after school, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you had to get the school bus home, that was a problem because you'd missed the school bus home. So you'd have to, I don't know, find your own way home. And the other thing we didn't mention, of course, is that the whole education system is sort of not controlled, it's monitored, isn't it?
By the government.
Yeah.
Ofsted. It's a government body, isn't it? That they come around and they give ratings on how good the school is. So, yeah. And if they're doing their jobs, if they, if the students are doing well in exams, there's a lot of pressure on teachers as well to make sure, if the students aren't passing, these kind of, and there are constant, like this idea of the phonics that I'm not a big fan of. Teachers were basically forced to teach that, whether they like it or not. So it's all part of what we call the curriculum, which is a set guideline of things that they need to learn. The national curriculum. So yeah, there's a lot, and I will leave it on that note and say to you, by the way, detentions. My school, the school I went to at the end had Saturday detentions.
Oh,
if you were really bad, your weekday detentions weren't enough. Your lunchtime detentions weren't enough. Saturday detentions, you would have to come in on Saturday. I'm not going to tell you whether I ever had one.
That's
I'm going to keep
cruel.
my halo there, in your opinion.
That's worse than the cane, which is what we used to have back in my day. Not I ever had the cane, of course, but you would be hit with a stick. Can you believe that?
Yeah. No, I've heard about this. Wasn't that in the Victorian era?
Yeah, that's right.
Dickens came round. No, but the cane it finished just before I started school, a few years before. So I was very lucky because I think I was outspoken and loud enough to get the cane several times.
All right.
I would have done. Thank goodness it had gone. But on that note, if you want to support this podcast, there is a cup of tea. You can always buy a cup of tea for Rob, myself, support us through our educational journey. And please do let us know what you would like us to teach next. We would love to hear from you. We had a suggestion about relationships and dating we'll have to do very, very soon. Not that I think we've been out of the game for too long, but try and remember. We could do 2 British grumpy middle-aged men judge modern dating.
Yeah. Sounds good.
We could do that. And on that note, I want to say thank you very much to everyone for listening to this podcast. And thank you, Rob, for joining me today.
You're very welcome. See you next time.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.